Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about what we're hearing in the industry around real estate. Is there going to be a real estate crash in 2022? However, before we begin, we've got the Real Estate Fanatics link down below. Please like our channel, please subscribe to our channel. Also, if you want to reach out to me with any questions around this, if you want to have some high-level educated discussions, anything like that, post in the comments, hit me on my Calendly link down below. Happy to schedule some time with you, give you my thoughts on things. So, is the real estate market going to crash in 2022? Hey, just like everybody else, none of us are economists. None of us know the predictability of what's going to happen, to be honest with you. So I'm just going to kind of deflate it right now. However, I'm hearing a lot of different things, and it's interesting conversations. It's definitely things to kind of prepare for. It's definitely some things to kind of keep an eye on. And that's definitely what I think intelligent people do, is they don't overreact, but they actually just kind of consume data. Now, consume data needs to be trusted resource data. If you're getting your data from all the crazy people that post on Facebook, you're probably a little bit crazed in the head, and you're like, I don't even know what's going on. It's a lot of doom and gloom. So I think we're somewhere between all of that. I don't think it's doom and gloom. I don't think we have a rosy picture coming up in the next 6 to 12 to 18 months. However, I think it's just somewhere in between all of that. I think basically what I'm hearing and seeing from a lot of different resources is, generally speaking, remember, real estate market is part of the overall economic market and some of the key things there. However, it's tied together to the overall economy, but it's a single part of the economy, right? You've got energy, you've got oil and gas, which is part of that energy, right? You've got real estate market as some of that. So you've got different components of all of that that kind of make up the overall economy, if you will. So if the economy goes down, it's going to have some effect on real estate. In 2008, of course, it was predominantly real estate that caused the economic kind of crash, if you will. Bad loans were being given out. People just were being stretched to qualify. A lot of short sale foreclosures were happening because of bad loans, things of that nature. Houses were being overvalued. Appraisers were hitting the mark on those overvalued homes. So the market goes down, people were upside down, short sales again, foreclosures, things of that nature. I do think that there's absolutely some overvalued markets. And we've had crazy appreciation over the last few years. That's got to probably correct a little bit, I would think. That's just reality. That's kind of the way the free market works, right? When it's good, it's got to reset and it's going to have to go down. And when it's down, it's going to have to reset and go back up, right? That's just this big vicious cycle that always happens in that kind of the free market, if you will. Anyway, so kind of what I'm thinking, and what I'm seeing is, and the reports that I indicate, is places to watch with those that had super, super high appreciation. States that I can think of is Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Nevada, Tennessee. Some of those states have seen massive, massive, massive appreciation. Well, I think that they probably have a higher likelihood of having course corrections that are going to kind of swing a little harder, maybe than the general U.S. market. One thing that I would always talk about is you're going to hear a lot of country or nationwide statistics when you hear news reports and things like that. You really need to dive into your local area because it's going to look different, right? Alabama may or may not appreciate at the levels that California does, right? Or Arizona has been. So maybe they won't have to course correct nearly as much in an economic turn. Due to COVID, due to people being able to work remote during all that, a lot of people were making moves, right? And so now we're kind of seeing some of that stabilize a little bit. I do think some businesses may call people back into work, and we are seeing a little bit of that. How much that happens, who knows? People might have to end up moving back to some of their locations where their businesses are calling them back to work. So we'll kind of see how some of that flushes out. The reality of it is, I do not personally, and again, I'm not an expert, right? But everything that I see and all the reports that I see that are not the big crazy flame starter news stories, I don't see a market crash happening. And here's why. We still have semi-tight inventory, right? Days on market is starting to stretch out a little bit. However, generally speaking, if you kind of look at absorption rates, most places are leaning in a seller's market, right? I think we're just not seeing the craziness, which I think is the absurd market, which was a heavy seller's market where we were getting 52 showings in a weekend and 17 offers and waiving inspections and all these crazy things, 100,000 over. That's not a normal market. That's actually a crazy market if you ask me, right? It's the opposite of a down market, right? It's a seller's crazy lunacy market, if you will. So I think you're just going to see that more neutralized. I think you're going to see us shift maybe more into at least a slight seller's market is probably where we're going to be instead of a leaning heavy seller's market. And yeah, we could neutralize and go into a equal market. So with that being said, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about some reasons why I also don't think that it's going to crash. Is also the vacancy. Rentals are low, so there's a lot of people that are renting. So that's an indicator that we look for. If rent vacancies are low, then we know that the market's still doing pretty good. And the last thing is lending is not the same, right? The government got involved back in that 2008 range, and basically, or 2010-11, there's the Frank Dodd's Act that kind of came in and put some more restrictions on how appraisals are done. So we were making sure that we weren't getting overvalued homes. You know, the standards are getting a little bit tighter on, or had been tighter on who qualified. I do think in a changing market, you know, it's always kind of, the pendulum's always swinging. It's like always super strict, and then it gets a little bit loose, and then gets strict again. I think as the market's shifting and changing, you're probably going to see some of those guidelines get strict again. So some people may or may not qualify for loans, and I think that's just banks and lenders and the government kind of protecting themselves from getting people into loans that might go into default. One thing that we have to watch out for is what they call stagflation. So stagflation is high interest rates, it is high inflation, and high unemployment. We're not seeing that right now on the unemployment side, so I'm not too worried about that currently. I think if the market continues to kind of go down, and I know right now we're waiting for the second quarter GDP, which if 2 quarters of GDP, it's kind of sort of the written rule that that might signify a recession, even though the Goldman Sachs folks said that's not 100% guaranteed. They always look back after a period of time and go, okay, that's when the recession started. But generally the rule of thumb is 2 GDP quarters in a row of negative is basically a recession. We'll see quarter 1 was negative GDP. We're now July 4th. I think by the end of July 28th, we're supposed to see what that GDP looks like for that quarter. I don't know. You're seeing various data that could show just slightly positive, and you're seeing some data that shows it's slightly negative. We'll see. So the other thing is right now is most homeowners have a ton of equity in their home. So we don't really necessarily see, at least today, a lot of foreclosures. Yes, we're seeing an uptick in it a little bit. However, I don't see it being the 2008 levels just because of how much equity is in homes. As long as people are working with their realtors or talking to their banks about restructuring their loans, they should be fine. Yes, a job loss, I think that probably creeps up in the next year or so. I think businesses are probably going to, you know, start more layoffs than we've seen in the past, or what we're seeing because of the Great Resignation. What's happening with a lot of businesses, they're either pulling their job ads and just sitting tight with what they got, or what they're doing is they may be having somebody retire, whatever. If they terminate somebody, they're just not backfilling those seats. So we'll see kind of how that plays out on the employment side. However, as numbers are coming in from businesses, we're watching their profit reports and, you know, how their numbers are coming in at the quarter. So that's going to be an interesting conversation come the end of the quarter for the second quarter, and watching how businesses are doing. And the last thing that I would say is $2 trillion in savings is what's been out there, right? There's been a lot of kind of pre-printed money, let's say during COVID. A lot of money was handed out. With that being said, businesses, homeowners, according to the latest stat I got from Moody Analytics, was that there's like $2 trillion in just kind of savings out there floating around. So they believe that if people lost their jobs, you know, that they're going to have money to put down on their houses, right? Or to make those payments and not really get caught up. I don't know if I totally believe that, to be honest with you. Americans in general, and I think humans, but maybe specifically Americans, historically have not been great savers for, you know, just they go out and spend their money, right? I don't know if it's keeping up with the Joneses theory. I don't know what it is. However, I've seen other stats where people don't have more than $1,000 in their savings. So again, it's kind of mixed information. I tend to lean historically on Americans are not great at saving money. So that could be a concern because foreclosures will begin, you know, if people are missing their payments on their mortgages. Now, the good news is they have the ability to go ahead and make those restructure their loans. They can obviously sell their house. That's kind of the key thing, right? And worst case is sell your house. You've got many years worth of payments to be a renter out of the proceeds of your house. May not be ideal for you, but at least you're not going in a negative equity position. So anyways, I'm just gonna kind of wrap this video up today. I don't see a crash coming in 2022 from the real estate side. I do believe we're gonna see an economic slowdown. Interest rates on homes could push 7%. Again, again, not an expert. I'm just kind of hearing those numbers, kind of seeing things by the end of the year. I think a lot of that's going to be what the Fed Reserve does. I think Fed Reserve has said, obviously, they want to see inflation as their top priority, try to get it back down to 2%. We do know there's what we call lead and lag measures. So that takes time, right? Just because they bump the Fed Reserve rates, it doesn't happen instantaneous that it affects inflation. It's over a period of time. So obviously they're going to keep ratcheting up, we believe, the Fed Reserve rates and kind of wait for a few months and a few months and a few months to see if that's actually, they may overreact and keep bumping interest rates up until they see, some progress on inflation. But we'll see. Anyways, that's hopefully that was a little bit helpful for you. It's interesting to me to look at on the real estate side. And, I think inflation's probably the biggest issue right now, more than housing values. There's still plenty of buyers out there looking for houses. There's sellers putting houses on the market. I don't think any of that changes, in my opinion. So anyways, click below. We have our Real Estate Fanatics. Subscribe to our channel, please. Put some comments in there. Happy to provide you guys any value that you want. Also, if you want any of our systems, if you want any of our guides on running a real estate business, just go ahead and put a comment down below. Be happy to share any of that stuff with you. If you run a couple $1 million GCI business here, we're on real estate, we do some investing, some things like that. So feel free, put your comments down below. We'll be happy to connect with you. Also, you can connect with me on my IHG calendar link below. All right, thanks.